So there I am, yesterday morning, it's 7:45, we've got no fuel, I'm in the petrol garage, and the bike decides, nope, the fuel lock is not coming off. And it's frustrating because I look after this bike. If I didn't look after this bike and then the fuel cap, the lock seized on me, then, you know, tough. It's my own fault for not looking after the bike. But I look after this bike, and more specifically, several times a year, I will oil the locks. The ignition lock, the fuel cap lock, and the lock on the seat. I will oil them so that things like this don't happen. And then what happens? Exactly what I was trying to prevent from happening. So after about 15 minutes of fiddling with the lock at the garage, trying to get the thing off, eventually I decided I'm just going to have to go to work. I thought to myself, it's a good job that I'm on a 125 because they don't use much fuel, which is great because I don't have much fuel. So we went to work on no fuel, we went home on no fuel, hoping that we're going to make it, and then we got the WD-40 out and sorted the lock out. It did eventually come undone, and then I went back to the garage to fill up. Now I don't mind a little bit of excitement in my life, but that wasn't quite what I had in mind. The anxiety of, am I going to get home? And this is only a couple of days after Laren. I bought a new battery tender for Laren, and we charged the battery, did a little bit of work under the seat, everything's good, everything's back together, and then I decided that there was one or two things I wanted to double check under the seat. But nope, Laren is not prepared to give up her seat. It's not a seized lock this time. The lock turns, you can hear the catch unclicking, and the damn seat still won't come off. Yes, these vehicles of ours can test us from time to time, but hey, if we knew what life had in store for us, it wouldn't be worth living now, would it? And for me, lately it hasn't just been my vehicles that have been testing me. My son bought his new motorbike, didn't he? And that turned up. Gear lever was too low, brake pedal was too high, and I thought, that's alright. Gear lever's got an adjuster on it, I'll just adjust that up. Turns out that the gear lever adjuster was seized. It's a brand new bike. The adjuster was seized. Sorted that out, looked at the brake pedal, there's no adjuster on it, nothing at all. There's a free play adjuster at the back, but there's no height adjuster on it. So then I had to research, how can I change the height position, the resting position of this pedal? Am I going to have to cut the pedal, bend it, re-weld it? Am I going to have to weld an adjuster onto it or whatever? Did a lot of research into that, and then I decided, you know, there's an adjuster at the back that takes up the free play. I'm just going to take the free play out of it first and see what we're working with. And it turns out that the master cylinder has its own internal stop built into it. So once we took that free play out, the pedal actually held itself about 2 inches lower than before. All that research, all that work for nothing. And lately it hasn't just been motorbikes either. It hasn't just been motorbikes that have been testing my patience. I'm out the other night in the 306 and it started overheating. Turned out that it had no water, no antifreeze, no nothing. And I got to where I was going and it was running at 110 degrees, which is ridiculous. So I went to the petrol garage and they didn't have any water. You know, it's amazing how many things petrol garages don't have these days. You know, you want water, you can guarantee the one you go to is not going to have water. It's the same as air. When you need to pump up a tyre, it'll be that one garage you go to that has a broken air machine. So there I am, Sainsbury's petrol garage. Again, more shenanigans at a petrol garage. They've got no water. I ended up going into the actual shop to buy still spring water. 7:30 at night, pitch black, topping up my radiator with spring water. Only the best for my 306, bloody spring water. But again, not just motorbikes, sometimes cars, not just mine. Here's a picture of my friend's car that decided to give up its exhaust, or it's in the process of giving up its exhaust. I haven't had to fix this one yet. I may have to have a look at that next week, but that's next week's problem. And it's interesting when something like this happens. You know, shit happens, it always does, it's always going to. You know, you can never predict what's going to happen. But nowadays when shit happens, it's like my brain goes into a different mode. You know, something breaks and my brain says challenge accepted. My brain goes into challenge mode. You know, something else breaks, challenge accepted. Don't get me wrong, sometimes my brain goes into F it mode. Sometimes my brain says F it, and sometimes I'll say it out loud. F this, F that, F the other. Why do these things always happen to me? But then once I finish licking my wounds, we typically regroup and come up with a new plan. But remember, although things are going to happen to you, life isn't just about what happens to you. Life is also about how you respond to the things that happen to you. And of course, it's also about the opportunities that you create for yourself.